call this meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Thank you all for coming tonight. I think we do have one attendee, Jay or his guest, just FYI. Okay, so first order of business is to approve meeting minutes. And sorry for inundating your inbox, but I caught up. So we have 4 sets of meeting minutes. We can just go through them one at a time. So 2 sets for the meeting on February 27th. So we have the regular meeting minutes and the executive session meeting minutes. So maybe I'll just start with the February 27th meeting minutes to see if anyone had any comments on those.
I had a very minor change, just a small typo. Line 17, there's a 0 before the 12 in the date. And then the date in the footer should just be updated. And that was it. Thank you for doing these.
Yep. So just quickly, so this is on the regular meeting minutes, right, from February 27th or the
Yes.
executive? Okay. So line 17, yep. I'm looking for it.
So the committee discussed the approval of meeting minutes from, it says 02 and then 012. So just delete the 0 in front of the 12.
Okay. Let's see that. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm just going to take a note. For some reason, I cannot find it. Hold on a second. Okay, so line 17, there is a rogue 0, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and then in the footer, what was the other comment?
I'm just updating the date. It has a January date in there.
All right, awesome. I can make those changes, no problem with that. Any other comments? If none, do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 27th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, do I have, all right. All right, all in favor, Al?
Aye.
Jesse?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And Ellen? All right. Ellen, you said yes, right? I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just I think my computer cut out. All right. So now we go to the executive session meeting minutes on February 27th. Any comments on those?
If we're going to discuss that, I think we actually, given that we're going to go into executive session, we should approve them in executive session.
Okay.
Otherwise, if we have to discuss the minutes, it's piercing the veil, so to speak.
Okay. I can just move that into the executive session. That's fine.
Yep.
Okay. All right, then I will jump to the CPC meeting minutes on February 27th. This is for when we met as a group, or I think all but Al was there on the night of the 27th, I believe, but any comments on those?
So I was like logged off. I was kind of bounced out by the Zoom. I want to say that was around 8:30-ish. I can't remember exactly what time. Does it? I don't suppose it's really that relevant unless there were things that happened in person, Doug, that you were aware of and were not, or something like that.
I'm trying to, I think most of the substantive stuff was talked about, Jesse. I did note that you had to sign off prior to the adjourn vote. So at least noted that in the meeting minutes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep.
Where is that?
I did not have a timestamp on it. So.
Oh, no, you're good. Okay, I see it now. You're fine.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I got you.
Yep. Yep. All right, if no comments, do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the Affordable Housing Trust and CPC meeting on February 27th?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay, great. All right. Al?
Abstain. I wasn't present, so.
Yep. Okay, great. All right. Paul, I'm sorry, Jesse,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and Ellen.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, so now going to the approval of the meeting minutes from March 5th, 2025. Pull those up on my screen. And for this one, it was just Paul, Ellen, and I. Al and Jesse were not present. So any comments on those meeting minutes?
Very minor, just line 32. The motion by Mr. Desmond should say to approve the draft.
Yes, got it.
And then just updating the date in the footer. And that was it.
Great. Okay. I will update those. Thank you. All right. I will definitely check the footer from now on. Thank you, Ellen. So,
Sure.
all right. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 5th?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Second. Okay. All right. Going around. Al,
I abstain.
Jesse.
Abstain.
Okay. Paul
Aye.
and Ellen.
Aye.
And Doug is aye. Sorry, Doug is aye in all of those. I should note that. All right, great. Thank you. Sorry for, well, not sorry, but got through all those meeting minutes, and we'll do the executive session ones in executive session. So moving on. So first, new business, discussion of the pending Affordable Housing Trust CPC warrant article and town meeting. So just, I think everyone knows at this point, but CPC did approve it, which is great news. You know, at the last meeting, there was a series of back and forth. So Lisa and Freddie did meet with town council. Town council had a number of changes, you know, basically stripping out a bunch of stuff that they were asking to be put in. Not most of it, probably not substantive, because again, it was really being repetitive in terms of things we have to do by MGL law already, what we have to follow. But the one thing that did come out, which did create a lot of discussion, was that town council was pretty clear that CPC cannot require the funds to come back on a sunset date. Town council was also pretty clear that this, you know, these funds are transferred pretty regularly at other towns. So remember, we had agreed to kind of a 2-year sunset. So there is no sunset because it's not legal, basically, the best way to summarize it. I was asked to update the application just to take that out, which I did. They did decide to leave in a number of elements that were about, you know, the reporting that we had talked about before. There are also some other things required by MGL in terms of what the funds can or cannot be used for under CPC, which is pretty straightforward. Those were left in. But anyway, so it was a good, robust discussion. I do think the fact that they couldn't have a return date, right? Definitely a couple of the committee members weren't thrilled with. But I do think Lisa and others did a great job and got them over the hump. And they did all vote to approve, so which is good news there. I did update the application. I got it to Lisa and Freddie, and so that now is posted on their website. I believe I sent that to everyone too as well, so you guys should have that. The warrant article is in final form too as well, at least from what I have heard. So I'll pause. I don't know if Ellen or Paul, anybody else wants to give any other updates, but that was at least at the last meeting. But just want to at least give a heads up on that.
Yeah, it's in the warrant. I'm not quite sure which version is in the warrant, but we have a placeholder in the warrant, and so we will be before town meeting.
Yep.
I should
So-
mention that the select board voted unanimously to support.
That's great. Awesome. So it's a couple of things. So unfortunately, I am out of town on Monday, April 7th. And, I would love to be there. I might tune in remotely, but obviously I don't think I can speak. I can just listen in to town meeting. It would be great if, one of you would be willing to present, on behalf of, the committee. I don't know if I'm gonna, nominate Paul as vice chair, maybe being responsible, but I figured it should be self-volunteering. But I think one of us will need to get up and I think do a presentation, or at least be able to speak for the committee. And so, but I'll pause to see if any takers on that.
I would think that either Paul or Ellen would be an excellent spokesman. I think it's good to see people who aren't regularly associated with this be in front of town meeting. But, I'm volunteering somebody else, and that's not necessarily kind. I know Jesse's making a presentation on another matter, which is the only reason I didn't pick on
Oh,
him.
no, please. Paul or Ellen, all the way.
It'd also be a dynamic duo situation here too. Maybe they collectively present, but I'll leave it to the two of you. Again, I do apologize. I'm out of town, but that's not something I can change. So,
So what are we talking about here? Just, I mean, putting it on the floor or speaking to it somehow, or what do we need?
So, yeah, well, two things, I guess. It's a question for us as a committee. Lisa did ask if we were going to do a presentation. I did put together a short presentation. It's about 4 slides of actually substantive slides. When I did this literally on the train this morning or in the car. My wife was driving, so it's a rough first draft, but it was a lot of cut and pasting and dropping stuff in. I can go through it again. The presentation is due on Friday. I do think, based upon, and you guys can disagree, but given all of the discussion that happened at CPC, I do think it's probably good to have a presentation just to kind of walk through and, here's the Affordable Housing Trust, here's who we are, right? Here's the request. Here's what it specifically can be used for, again, which is pretty limited, right? Remember, we're only doing 5 or 7 things. And then to talk about the goals of it. And then I do think there's a series of protections as well. So it was kind of like that theme, which I think would be helpful for town meeting because, but no pictures, nothing, like just really trying to, just walk through it. You know, so Paul, I would think, and I'll defer to you guys, but I think a presentation would be good given the content and the request. I do think we're going to probably hear from a couple of folks, probably one of them a CPC member themselves that's going to probably speak with some concerns. And I can talk about that because I think that's what kind of floated up in the last meeting too as well. Not so much, well, there's definitely a theme of this is a lot of money to give to one committee, right? That's come up, a couple times. And then also, I think there's a bit of overfixation on this is only going to be used to buy 1 or 2 units, right? I mean, I think in the last slide, I kind of expanded upon that. I think there's other uses for it. And then obviously the theme of, real estate, we can't transact on an annual town meeting basis. Real estate transacts in 2 to 3 months. But so that would be one presenting. And the other is there is not a requirement, but there is the ability to meet with the moderator before the meeting, which probably would be good, right? To at least so the moderator can understand, I'm not sure what typically happens, but I think that'd be good to whoever decides to present that. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doug, that was yesterday.
That was yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What?
I went, like Paul Semino had a session at 6:00 at the senior center. And I went because I wanted to discuss some planning board items. And so at this point, I think you had also forwarded out Jim Haggerty's email that the slides are due to him and Jason, the IT guy, this Friday.
Correct.
Have you sent those slides out to us as
Yep.
committee members? Okay, I didn't see that.
I sent it, it went out. So Jesse, it went to your Southborough address. So that might, I don't know if that's, but I did
Yeah.
send that out today at 10:14 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got them.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with contacting Paul and just saying, we do have a brief presentation that is available. this is kind of,
Yeah, but he's a stickler, and I understand why, for the 5 minute maximum.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That's critical.
yeah, yes, understood. And, you can certainly reach out to Paul and just say, we have 4 slides if they're necessary. It may not be necessary. I think, you might in fact ask the hall if they're interested in seeing a very brief presentation. Yeah, there's a good chance that, this is going to be a quick town meeting. Those are probably famous last words. But I think it might be prudent to ask whether the hall would like to see a brief presentation on this article or not before proceeding, because we have certainly moved expeditiously through bigger items in the budget.
Do we have the warrant article itself, Andy?
I've got a draft I can send you, a draft of the warrant.
I must have that somewhere.
I think I can.
Well, anyway, I mean, I'm.
Okay. So the warrant article is for the one-time transfer of the money.
Yes.
Got
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. Now I'm.
Yeah, it's there. It's there
Playing
in
a little
the.
catch up. All righty. I think it's great. Thanks, Doug. Great job. Paul or Ellen,
Yeah, so I'm willing to put it on the
go
floor.
get it.
You know, as Al says, if we need a presentation, okay, and I'll take a look through this, Doug, and I know Semino likes to keep them short.
Yeah, you might just reach out to Paul and say, we're prepared if necessary.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that works. I'll definitely defer to you guys, right? If there's no need for a presentation, great. And Paul, I think that gives you enough, and Alan, enough of an outline too as well. I mean, you guys know the speaking points. You were part of all the meetings. So don't need to, make this longer, but yeah, if you guys take a quick look at it, I'm happy to take another look through it, Paul, too, as well. Paul, do you
Yeah.
want to reach out to the moderator on this to touch base with him since you'll be speaking? Does that make sense?
sure.
And I just have to throw it out there that I've never had an easy, no problem situation at a town meeting. Never. So I personally would highly recommend that the slides be put up on the screen and discuss just to it'll probably help, because I just have this gut feeling that, and maybe I'm being paranoid, but a gut feeling that like somebody's going to say, hey, this, I'm concerned about X, Y, and Z. And
I think a key point to, emphasize is that the Affordable Housing Trust was authorized by this body. So make that this is something that town meeting has said they want to do, and we are implementing the will of town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that it keeps sticking in my mind is the CPC has all this money that's, given to them every year by the taxpayers. And I don't think there's any other vehicle in town to spend it.
that's absolutely true.
Except for us, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
I think I brought this up at their meeting and they're like, well, something could come up. But
Yeah.
it has. So am I wrong about that? I mean,
It is possible that a private developer could apply for some special funding. I've heard some discussion that possibly the housing authority might have something that they might want to do, and I do think fairly soon we ought to meet with the housing authority jointly, just to sort of make sure we're all singing out of the same hymnal.
I wonder, Ellen, do you know, has there ever in the history of Southborough been a CPC application for the utilization of these funds?
I believe there was. I think it's been at least a decade is my understanding.
Yeah, I believe,
Um,
yeah, I think Stockwell Lane was probably the last time. I could be wrong about that, but there's also a house that's on the corner of 85 and 30. That's actually managed, I believe, by the Housing Authority. And that's another possible one but that may have been done beforehand, before the Affordable Housing Trust even existed. There was another bucket of money.
Yeah, and Stockwell must have been more like 20 years ago or more, right? Was that when it was originally built, that development?
I'd have to go back and look.
I want to say yes, because I don't know why else they would have built a duplex there, except for that purpose,
Well, it
right?
was definitely built as a affordable unit.
Right.
and Paul, I'm happy to work with you on this to go through the slides and get ready for a presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think just going back to it, I think the biggest points was, I mean, we are leaving some with the CPC, which is great, right? This is about real estate transactions, which, happen quickly. It's about more than just one unit. And so I think that the details are in there, but you guys should feel free to add additional points. But I agree with Jesse. I think just, but when we all say this, I think the will of town meeting is great. I don't know how we word that into the first slide, but AHT was created by town meeting, right, for this purpose. But we can also suggest we went through many CPC meetings and there was no one, except for maybe one time somebody there who was supportive, right? So this might be just more about change of CPC's role with this money, so we'll see how it goes. But so anyways, but great. Okay.
By the
Awesome.
way, Stockwell Lane was built in 96.
So that's pre-CPC.
Yes, I think so. Prior to that, there were developers contributed to a special fund in order, they had requirements to build affordable housing and they could buy their way out of it and I think that's the source of those funds. That happened in my neighborhood.
Okay. Great. All right. If nothing else on this topic, again, Paul and Ellen, thank you so much. Really do appreciate this. And obviously, feel free to circulate the presentation back to me. I'm happy to take another look at it too as well. All right, next item, housing production plan. And so discussion of that topic. I think Jesse and Ellen, you guys have been working on this, so I'll turn it over to you guys for an update.
So I'd been working on an update to the RFQ that Jesse had worked with Karina to get over to us. But I wanted to check in. There were some emails back and forth that sounded like there might be some town staff support for this. I wanted to see how far we should be taking this.
I spoke with Mark Purple and yes, Melanie Osaka can help us with the actual procurement process. And that's all been cleared away. So, if we know what we want to do, you might want to just stop in and chat with her. You know where she sits?
No, but I'm sure I can find her.
Yeah, she's right in front of Mark's office. It's the two folks by the reception. Yeah, Mark said she would definitely help you, with the procurement process, because we'll have to put this out to bid in some form. And assuming you guys have a list of potential vendors, she can help you with that.
Yeah, so that list was part of what Karina had sent over. It sounds like at least one of them doesn't do production plans anymore. But I think, Jesse, there were maybe 3 names on that list, so there would at least be 2 from the last time and potentially others we could reach out to.
Yeah, I don't know whether the state has a list of people who do that sort of thing or not.
We can ask. I've had some exchanges with someone from HLC. I'm just checking in about, if we could get an extension, just a lot of general questions, and they've been very responsive. So I can ask them as well if they have a list.
And Ellen, quick question. Is there any possibility of an extension? I think we talked about this last time. Can we get an extension if we're in process or no? Okay.
Yes, so we cannot get an extension. We don't lose our safe harbor status, since that came in during the time we have an approved production plan. So, you know, it's gonna be tight whether or not we're trying to submit this by July or get it approved by July. If we're trying to get it approved by July, we have to submit it in like 3 weeks. So I think in all likelihood, there's gonna be a lapse. But I think we can just do our best to get it into them by July, and hope for a quick turnaround. And so I have a draft. Jesse, I'd sent this over to you. I don't know if you had additional thoughts, and I apologize for not sending it to the rest of the committee. I could share it now if that would be helpful. I can send it over email, whatever we think to try and get this done.
Yeah, I think, Ellen, if you could circulate, I mean, obviously I'd defer to Jesse and you. Jesse was, I think, most involved with the last one, but I'm happy to take a look at it too if you want to circulate it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Ellen. Yeah, this looks great. So yeah, I'll just forward this to you, Doug,
Okay.
and Al and Paul.
But I would give definitely, if you and Jesse are good with it, I mean, given the timing, right, per se, I would say, by all means, it's an RFP, right? Feel free to not necessarily wait for us. I would say, let's get it to Melanie, and if we can get it out, it's probably better just for timing wise. I would just say that out loud. So
Agreed.
So I would make a motion that we authorize Jesse and Ellen to forward an RFP for the house production plan to work with Melanie Osaka to get it out to the world and get bids back. That way that way we're on the record as voting in favor of this.
okay.
Second.
Awesome.
Yeah, the only
Alright.
discussion on this, I support the motion, is I just don't have much bandwidth before a town meeting on April 7th. Ellen,
I can
don't
work
know
with
if you-
Melanie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you need
I can help you
help
too
with
if need be. I can make sure things go smoothly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just two quick things for discussion, if we could. So I think most of the changes to the RFQ were, updating where it should said Shopsy or something else to Affordable Housing Trust. So there were very few substantive changes to the last one. So the couple of questions I did have is that the first line of this says that the town of Southborough's Board of Trustees of the Affordable Housing Trust has authorized the expenditure of funds to secure a consultant to update its housing production plan. What do we need to do to actually authorize that? Is that a separate vote we need to take?
Yeah, we would have to when the bids come back, we would vote to accept and authorize expenditures for that.
Send this out saying that we've authorized the expenditure without having taken that vote yet?
I think we could still, I mean, I think we could take a separate motion and actually, as a committee, authorize that we will be using the Affordable Housing Trust funds to pay for this, right? So that at least, I mean, we haven't approved anyone yet, but I mean, if the consultants need to know that, we've authorized ourselves to spend our funds on it, I think we can make a motion to that effect tonight, and that at least it would make that statement valid, right? So.
I mean, and also you're covered because there is a motion and a second on the floor right now of this meeting on this document.
Yeah.
So you're covered.
Yeah, good point.
Great,
Well, should we?
thank you.
Yeah.
I would say, does it have to be amended to say that we also authorized, funds from the Affordable Housing Trust to be used for this? I'm just saying that out loud.
why don't we do that just as a second? Just so
Motion.
that we have a second motion, just so we keep it simple.
Yep, agreed.
Those
Okay.
are- Yep. All right.
Alan, one thing on your document, it's signed Karina Quinn, town planner.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that be deleted. As far as who they should send the quotes to, is that to the chair, Doug, or?
I would send it to the chair with a copy to Mark Purple, the town administrator.
You okay with that, Doug?
Yep, it's okay with me. I'll be including everyone as soon as I get it.
Yeah, and we may want to actually copy Melanie as well, but we
Yep.
can work that out when we meet with her. Yeah.
Okay.
Alan, by the way, I'm in and out of town hall on a regular basis. If getting there is hard for you, so if you've got text you want me to just carry over, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And this might be a Melanie question, but one of the other questions I had is that there are a few places in here that require hard copies, multiple hard copies of both quotes that people return and the production plan itself. Is that something that's still standard in this type of thing, or can we just have electronic submissions?
I'd be good with just electronic. That's a Melanie question. But I don't know,
Yeah.
Jesse, you do this more than I do.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Suffice to say, I think this committee is fine with all electronic, but obviously, Melanie might know whether there's any town requirement for hard copies.
Okay, and then I think the one other substantive question I had, and then we can send this out because I also updated the timeline, and so I wanted to make sure that feels doable. But the other substantive question was that the previous version mentioned an interest specifically in a plan that says address the housing needs of the projected population at various income levels. And then it specifies not more than 30% of AMI, more than 30%, but not up to 80%, and more than 80%, but not up to 120%. And so I wanted to see if those still feel like the levels we're most interested in. There are so many different ways that you can, kind of slice and dice the AMI. But wanted to see if those feel right, if we want different levels, if we don't need that level of specificity.
See, I don't think we want to tweak this too much because this
Yeah.
is all like DHCD, safe harbor compliant already.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think you're good to just leave those kinds of things the way they are.
A good
Okay.
consultant will tell us if we've screwed up.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay, perfect. So thank you for all of those. So yeah, I think as long as we are good with the timeline that's in here, then Al and I will work to coordinate with Melanie and get this sent out.
Okay,
Excellent.
great. So the motion on the floor, Al made a motion to authorize Alan and Jesse for them to work with Melanie to issue the RFP to 2 to 3 groups. And Paul seconded it.
Sorry. Well, sorry, Doug.
Yep, but-
It does say April 4th.
Yep.
That might be a little tight.
Yeah, I changed that today to
Oh,
try for
okay.
April 11th.
Al, does that
Yeah,
seem
I think-
reasonable to
I don't
expect
know.
proposals that fast from these vendors?
I'm assuming that they've got some sort of a boilerplate that they just update.
Okay.
They'll get back to us if we might. I'm in favor of pushing hard and then seeing what happens.
I would say
April
the
11th would be well, let's see, that'd be 2 weeks.
Well, I was going to suggest maybe once Ellen, meets up with Melanie.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks from when it goes out is probably appropriate. right? So if
Yeah.
it takes us, 4 or 5 business days to get it out, right? It could be 2 weeks from that date. That seems reasonable. I mean, obviously I agree, we want to push as hard as possible, but I wouldn't want to, if for some reason it suddenly was 1 week, I wouldn't want somebody not to respond. But I think 2 weeks would be sufficient, at least to not have anyone not do it, but I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think
Agreed.
that makes sense. I know that there are procurement rules. I am not an expert by any means in those procurement rules, so I think this is a Melanie question to just get that squared away, and whatever she says, we can probably live with. But yeah, 2 weeks from the time it goes out seems like not crazy.
And again, I think that falls under the authorization we're given to Ellen and Jesse to work with Melanie. So whatever you guys work out with Melanie, I think whether procurement or just a sufficient time, I think we're good with.
Good.
All right, all in favor, Al?
Aye.
Okay, Jesse,
Aye.
Paul,
I,
Ellen? And Doug is aye. All right, and so then I will just, can I get a motion to approve the use of Affordable Housing Trust funds to fund the update to the housing production plan?
So moved.
second,
Okay, a second. Okay, great. All right. Al,
Aye.
Jesse,
Aye.
Paul,
I, I,
Ellen, and Doug is aye. All right, great. Thank you both for those. All right, great. So, and again, Alan, Jesse, really appreciate you guys chasing this one. Obviously, a time constraint. So thank you. All right, next, more of a minor item. So Jim Haggerty reached out because we're a newly formed committee. There is no website description up on the website currently. So Jim asked us to put something together. I sent something that was pretty simple to everyone. It actually, the description of what for the Affordable Housing Trust is was really Al's statement that we had kind of put together originally for the CPC. So this was something I sent around earlier today. And then there's also the description of just the membership of the board, which I am going to have Jim Haggerty confirm. I believe it is correct, but just for him to confirm. And that was it. I mean, I think you guys have seen other descriptions. It's pretty straightforward. Last time, I think the old Affordable Housing Trust listed all 16 powers. Like it was just, I don't know if we have to necessarily do that, but I don't know. It's just open discussion, but I at least draft something for discussion purposes. So I'll open it up to thoughts.
Looks good to me.
yeah, it looks good to me too. I wonder if we can, is there a link to the 16 powers that we can connect to? So you don't have to list them all.
We can
Correct.
certainly add the 16 powers just from the old website.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to add them below, and if that's what people want, we do have it exactly. I don't know if there is a link, but it's a question for you guys, how you want to approach it.
I think including it one way or the other, I'm sort of indifferent to whether it's listed out or linked, but I think stating what those powers are would be helpful.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
okay. So I will add the 16 powers. And I do think it's probably good we get this back to Jim. So do we want to just do a motion that this description with the addition of the 16 powers is approved so I can get it back to Jim Haggerty? Does that make sense?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay. All right. All in favor? Al?
Aye.
Jesse?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And Ellen? And Doug is aye. Excellent. Okay. All right. That is the end of the regular agenda. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session per MGL, Chapter 38, Section 21, Section 21, sorry, for exemption 6,
So moved.
Okay. Paul, that was you as second, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, Al?
Aye.
Doug, sorry, one discussion item on that. We do have an attendee.
Oh, yes.
I'm not sure who Jay is, but
Jay, if you want to, if you have any comments or would like to speak, please feel free to raise your hand. We're going to enter an executive session, so the hearing will be closed once we go into executive session. But just if you have anything, just please raise your hand. We'll give you a minute. If not, we will continue. All right, Jesse? To enter into executive session?
yeah, I'm okay. So do you have a way to
Yeah,
remove
yeah, I
your-
do. Yeah, once we all vote, I will stop the recording and it'll just be the five of us. I'll
Aye.
lock the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Paul,
Aye.
Ellen? Okay, and Doug is aye. Okay. Give me 1 second.